Hey, what's up guys? Clint here, back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I built this power list application in React.js. And basically what it is, it's just a to-do app. I call it the power list because I'm a big fan of a podcast called Real AF with Andy Frisella. Basically he's a motivational speaker, business owner, entrepreneur, and he talks about a power list often. And essentially what a power list is you can think of it as a to-do list, but more critical tasks. So he says you need to add 5 critical tasks that will move you forward in life every single day. So that's what I'm building here as I'm learning React. So it has basically all the CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete. And let me show you what I'm going to be building it out here. So basically we have our H1 header here at the top with a cool little Viking helmet dude. And then we're going to print out our date here in just vanilla.js. And then we have our input here. And our tasks are going to map here down below. So let's add some tasks to the list. We can say mow the lawn. We'll say clean the house. Now these aren't typical tasks that you would put on a power list, but I just want to show you how it works here. So here we have our list, and where it has our task count here below. And as we finish items, we can cross them off the list. Just to double click here, and as you can see, we have finished that task. So, and you can toggle this back and forth, and then of course we can delete this. So this is what we're going to be building. Like I said, we're going to be building it in React.js. Let me start from a clean slate. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we're in VS Code here, and what we want to do is I'm going to press the Control Backtick button here, open up my terminal down here, and I'm going to change the directory to the desktop. Then I'm going to create a React app with npx create-react-app. I'm going to call this the power list app React. There we go. Go ahead and press enter. And what those basically those and signs are, if this first command executes properly, then go ahead and execute the next one. So go ahead and enter that in, and this will take just a moment to create our React app. All right, it says happy hacking. That means we're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and pull over the folder we just created here. So we are in the power list app React here. Like you said, this is what we just created. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and press the Control Backtick button here and open up our terminal. But to avoid any confusion, we're just going to be working out of this source folder here. So don't worry about the node modules or the public folder or anything else. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and delete a few things here that we won't be using. So there we go. So the app.css, the app.test, logo.svg, the report web vitals, and the setup test. Let's go ahead and remove all of those just to declutter a bit here. So we can go ahead and start our server with npm start. It's going to start up our development server. I already have one running, so it's just going to open on port 3001. Now we're going to get an error here, and that is because in our index.js is looking for this report web vitals. So let's go ahead and delete that. And inside our app.js, we can delete that there. And we can just delete both those. Actually, we're going to replace it with import React from React. Now, I have to make sure everything is working. And I'm just going to close that out. There we go. Cool. So what we want to do first is let's go ahead and I want to give this back a class name here. I'm going to give it my own class name app, lowercase though. So make sure you make it lowercase there, or whatever, however you want to name it. And I'm going to change this over to React so I can use my snippets here. And what we want to do is create a container here. So I'm going to create a div with the class name of container here. And then we're going to have our H1 at the top. It's going to be our power list. Now I'm using React icons. So you can either close this. We need to install a dependency. You can either close your server down or just start another one here. And we're going to install React icons with npm i react-icons. And if you want, I already have what I'm going to be using here, but if you want, you can just Google React icons, and then here, this is what we did, and a little bit of documentation on how to import them and use the apps. But this is what we're going to be using here. I'm going to go ahead and enter mine in here. There we go. GI horned helm, and that's our little Viking helmet dude here. So it's giving us an error. That's because we need to import it at the top. So let's import. We need to put this in a curly bracket here from React icons. Now it's still going to give an error because after React icons, you have to give a slash and then the prefix of that icon. So GI. We're also going to be using a few more, and I'll show you what I mean about different prefixes. So go ahead and refresh that. Should be showing up. There we go. cool little I can do there. So next, let's do a inside of our container. Let's do our form. So we'll have form, and we don't need an action on it right now. And inside our form, we do want an input, and type text is fine. We can go ahead and give it a placeholder as well. Enter a task. Now we're going to have one more or two more icons here. I already have ones I'm going to be using. I'm going to import those on a different line. If they have a different prefix, you have to import them on a different line. I don't know why that did that there. There we go. And then from import from React icons. And then instead of the GI, this one has to be AI. Now I'm also going to use this AI outline close. And this is what we're going to use to delete our task. So, but the outline is going to be our input button here. So we can just go down and put that right in here. There we go. So we're going to move this inside of our input here in a little bit. We'll do that with our CSS. So next is we're going to be using state to manage our tasks. So let's go ahead and do that. We need to first import the useState hook at the top of our project. And we're going to define const. This is our giving our state here, tasks and set tasks. It takes in two values. And then we're going to enter useState. We're going to set that to a empty array. In fact, actually, it's not going to be empty. Let's add in mow the lawn, and we'll say clean the house. So there we go. So this is our state in here. And if you want, you can actually look into the Chrome DevTools. And if you have the React DevTools, I don't have it on this browser. That's okay. Not a big deal. But basically, this is in our state here. So what we want to do is map through our state here, map through our tasks. So within the container, but down here, let's just, we'll map through it here. I don't think we need to put it in a div, but that's okay. We're going to open up some curly brackets. And when we open up the curly brackets, we can just write JavaScript down here. So what we're going to do is map through our tasks. So we'll say tasks.map. And this is going to take in task, arrow function here, and then open up these parentheses here. And want to output a div. I don't know why that didn't close it up here. You can only have one parent element that it maps through. So then our p tag here. And in here, we'll just say task. So there we go. It is mapping through our state here. Like I said, we can add another one if we'd like. Mow the lawn, clean the house. We'll say wash the car. It should appear right here. Perfect. There it is. Okay. So what we want to have is a input here. As we enter an input, we want it to appear down below. So how do we add state through our input? So what we're going to do is use useState hook again for our input here. I'm just going to call this input. Again, you can call it whatever you like. I'm going to leave this as an empty string. And I'm actually going to get rid of these for now. I'll leave them in there for now. So where's our input form? Here's our input. So I'm going to make this a little bit easier to read, especially since I have the text enlarged. What we want to do is give this a value of input. And we need to have an onChange. And with our onChange, we're going to take an event arrow function, and it's going to set our input to event.target.value. There we go. Now, if you want to abbreviate, you can, instead of using event, you can just leave the E's as well. You just use the E, and that works all the same. So just a little bit cleaner there. So now we have our target value. We want to handle a submit. So let's say on submit, we want to handle, we'll just call it handle submit here. Now let's create that function here at the top, just below our state. So we'll say const handle submit. And this is when our form is submitted. This is what's going to happen right here. So we're going to use an arrow function. And in there, it's going to take in an event, or we can just say E. And we don't want our form to be submitted, so we're going to use some JavaScript here. That's e.prevent default. There we go. Next, we want to add our state here. And actually, this right now, we just have some strings, some text strings. But what we want to have, each state is going to have 3 values. It's going to have an ID, so we can delete things and add them easily. And then we want to have the text, which is, the modal lines, our actual task. And then we want to have a completed Boolean, true or false, so we know whether or not the task has been completed. So what I'm going to do is say const, and I'm going to say add task. And add task, this is what we're going to have. We're going to have an ID. And we're just going to generate a random ID. We'll use math.floor and then math.random, just plain JavaScript in here. And we'll just times that by like 1,000, should be good. And that's going to give us a random number. So, and then we're going to say just text, and that's going to be our input. And then we're going to have completed, and we're going to leave this as a Boolean of false for default. Now, let's see if we might get some errors. Console log. Okay, yeah, we don't have any keys. That's okay. We're going to come back and fix that. So it's saying that React likes to have keys when we map through things, and we don't have that because right now we haven't added any task with any IDs. So we can actually delete this because when we add a task, let's finish right here. So after we add our task, we want to, how do we add our input to our state, right? So what we want to do is we want to use the set our task here, set tasks. And in here, since we already have tasks, we need to use a spread operator. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to throw this in an array here. We use our 3 dots, tasks. Then we want to add task. There we go. And after we're done, we don't want our text to stay in here after we enter it. Oh, we're getting an error. Okay. So that's because we're getting this error because we have our strings here in our task state. But what we're adding here, we're trying to add all 3 of these, and it's confusing. So let's go ahead and delete our state here so it's just an empty array. And we need to change this to task.text. Now let's see here. We'll say mow the lawn. There we go. Perfect. We want this to go to an empty string, though, after we enter it. So that's not very user-friendly. So we can just say set input empty string. There we go. Clean the house, wash the car. Awesome. That's cool. That's cool. So that's what we want to do there. Now let's get rid of this error here, looking for the key prop. And this is why we did our ID. So down here on our mapping, we need to add this on the outermost, on the parent element here. So what we can say is key, and we'll just say task.id. And it's not plural because we're mapping through each one. So if you understand that. Now let's refresh. No errors. Let's see. Clean the car, wash the dogs. There we go. Perfect. That's what we need right there. So let's refresh. So let's add in, what do we want to do next here? So we have our state. We're adding everything to our state, and it's displaying properly. What we want to do is we want to be able to delete a task and also toggle if a task is completed or not. So let's go ahead and delete our task here. So what I'm going to add in here, let's see here. What I'm going to do is yeah, for now I'm just gonna add a button here. There we go. And I'm just actually gonna put this in here just so it's on the same line. We're gonna come back and change everything later. So we want to be able to delete this here. So how we use that, we're going to use the filter. So what we need to do here is, let's go up here. We're going to have a, right in here, we'll say delete tasks. Let's put a little note here. This is add task. So what we want to do with our delete task, columns delete task, and this is going to take in an ID here. It's going to take in an ID, and what we want to say is we'll just call this filtered tasks, and then we're going to access our spread operator here. So task.filter, and that's going to take in tasks, tasks.id, then we're going to set the tasks to filtered tasks. And let's go ahead. We're going to call it console.log that to make sure it's working. So let's say clean workout cook. No, it's not going to work here because we need to pass in our ID down here on our button. Sorry about that. So for our button, we'll just say on click, we want to run our delete task. But we also want to take in a our ID. So what we actually need to do is an arrow function here, and be delete task, task.id. That should be, there we go. Perfect. So task deleted. Perfect. So that's what we want to do right there. Now we're going to come back and change this, and we're going to use the React icon. So we're going to do that next. Now what we're going to do with our tasks, what we want to do is be able to click this, double click that, and it will give it a change the background on it, and then also put a little line through the text. So let's do that next. Let's add our completed task here. So we'll just add task, delete task. Then next here, we'll say toggle completed task. And what we're going to do next here, we're going to say const toggle complete. And this is going to take in an ID. It's going to be an arrow function here. Now what we want to do is we want to map through our tasks, and it's going to map through our task, and we're going to change our completed here, change the Boolean value to true. So when we double click that task. So what we want to say, where's map through, we'll say set tasks, and then we want to map through. So let's just do it here, tasks dot map, and then we're going to take in task here. So our arrow function, and then just like very similar to what we did with our down here, when we map through our task down here, with just a little bit of extra code here. So task.map, and want to map through there. And what we want to check for is the task ID equal to ID. We're going to use a ternary operator here, and use our spread. So it's looking for task completed. Now what we want to say is if task.completed, we're going to change it. That's just task. I think that's it there. So what we're saying here, when we double click, we're going to add that double click down here in a moment. When we double click our row here, our task, it's going to loop through or map through our tasks, and it's going to check if the ID is correct. And if it is, if the IDs match, then it's going to grab all of our tasks, and it's going to change the completed here. We're going to change that. So when we put an exclamation operator here, basically it's looking for the opposite. So our task.completed is false. It's going to change it to true. Otherwise, just show the task. So let's have a look here. I'm going to enter in clean. I don't have my dev tools here. So let's add our on double click. So down here, and we'll just do this on our whole div here. So what we want to say is on double click, and on the double click, we're gonna have a function here, arrow function, and we're going to, what do we call it? Toggle complete. Pass in the ID, task.id. Cool. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to open our, yeah, we can just delete this, our index.css. Go and delete that. And I'm just making sure everything works here. So what I'm going to do is app. I really just wanted to check the DevTools here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you. Sorry, I have to open up another window here. So this is what we're building here. I just opened up in a different browser here. So what we can do is, let's look, because I want to show you our state here. And if you have the Chrome DevTools here with the React, we can look at our components. And let's see, in app, our state here. So you can see our state right here, and we'll see that change. Let's say mow, this is, and you see our input below change, mow the lawn. There we go. Now we have our state here, and we have our completed as false. Now, if we double click, you can see it changed to true right here. Let's double click again. Change back to false. So it's working, we just can't see it on the back end, or on the front end. So what I wanted to show you guys, which was why I opened up this other browser, is that it is working, and you can see that we're changing that Boolean value. So I don't know why I don't have it on this browser here. That's okay, but I'm going to close that and go back to what we were doing here. So now we know that these are toggling correctly from false to true, though we can't see it on the front end. So what I'm going to do next is our date here. Let's go ahead and add our date here at the top. So I'm going to add it right here. Div name, class name, date. And I'm just going to add, or you know what, let's just do our, let's do it just JavaScript. I was going to hard code it, but let's just do it in our JavaScript right here. So what we want to say is const date equals to new date. There we go. And you can see down here, boom, it grabs all that. Now we don't want all of that display. We don't want the CST and then the time. All I want is just this, this first part here. So the way I'm going to do that, and there's many different ways to do this. If you have a better way, then please let me know down in the comments below. But what we're going to do is have an array of the days, and we're going to do that for the months as well. So we're going to say const days, and in here it's going to be an array. I'm just going to paste that in there. And then we're going to do the same thing for the month as well. I already have these written out to save a little bit of time. Put those in an array. Wait, comment that out. So the way we want to do this now is in here, what we want to say, we're going to put this in our curly brackets so we can write our JavaScript. Want to say, we're doing our day first. So days, we're going to open up our curly brackets here. We'll say date dot get day function, I believe it is, the method here. Days dot, what's going on here? Is that right? Days, get date. Okay, there we go. Just took it a minute. Perfect. Now, the next one we want to do is the just the date. So say date, open our curly brackets here. Date, get date. Is that what we want? Perfect. There we go. Let's add our comma there. And our next one, we're going to do 2 more. The next is going to be our month. So what we want to say, just like we did above, months, open up our curly brackets, date.get month method there. Oops, didn't. Oh, I see what happened. It didn't go inside my curly brackets. So cut that. There we go. And finally, we want the year. So we'll just say date dot, there it goes again, date dot get full year method there. Go ahead and save. Perfect. That's what we want there. Now we're going to put this in a div and display it as flex. So we can come back and let's go ahead and move on to our CSS. I think we'll have to come back and do a few things here, but let's just go ahead and knock out some of our CSS here, just to make things look a little bit nicer, at least to how we want it to look here. So let's start off in, excuse me, our index.css. And what I'm going to do at the top here, we'll do margin 0, padding 0, cool. And then our app, let's do a max width 400 pixels, margin auto, padding 1 rem. There we go. And next we'll do app let's see, date, margin 2 rem. Let's do let's give some, I have to give some class names in here. So for this div, double click, we'll add it right here at the very end, class name of task row. There we go. Something, let's refresh that. Okay. So basically, let's get this refreshed. This is our task row right here. So this right here, and we can select it. That little blue selection there, that's our task row. So what we want to do, let's get our date here. We'll display flex. There we go. Perfect, perfect. And let's give a little yeah, there we go. Perfect. Now let's move on to our form here. And what we're going to want to do is probably wrap a, don't want to wrap this inside our form. I'm going to create another div called form input. And I'm going to put everything, I'm going to put our icon here and our input inside our form input there. So I'm going to save that. Now for our form input, and this is how we're going to get our icon inside of our input there. So what we want to say, after form input, we're going to do position relative. There we go. And we want to say width of 100%. We're going to display this as flex, and we're going to align items to the center. And justify content center. There we go. Perfect. And now let's go into our actual icon here. I believe we gave it let's give it a class name of icon there. And in here, we'll say app, we'll say form input in our icon. And we want to position this as absolute. There we go. Left 15 pixels, top 0. Let's give it a font size. And this is going to just increase the size of our icon here. Boom, there it goes. And let's give it a color of 4 4B00FF. There we go. Height of 100%. Display, flex, and then justify content center. Align items to the center. There we go. So everything is aligned properly. We just need to have it inside of our input there. So the way we're going to do this is go down to our form. So app form input, and we're going to change up some styling here. Border 2 pixels solid. There we go, perfect. And let's give it a padding of 5 pixels, 10 pixels. Then on the left, we're going to give it 50 pixels. And what that's doing is we're going to move this, we're giving some space for our icon here. And we can font size 18 pixels or 1 rem. Line height, let's do 30 pixels. Outline 0. Display, block width 100%, and border radius 8. So in Chrome, what this outline does, if you comment out this outline, basically in Chrome, whenever you select something, you get this kind of ugly blue outline. So when we put the outline at 0, we can click on there and it doesn't look completely ugly. So there we have our icon in here. Everything is looking nice. That's how we want it to look. What we can style next are our rows. Mow lawn, take out trash, kind of adding in some values here so we can see what we're styling. So we just added the task row. We can close that. Just added our task row right here, class name. And what we want to have our div. We're going to use another icon here at the top that we use the AI outline close. Let's go ahead and copy that. And instead of this button, I'm just going to put it right here. So I'm going to put it on the outside here. So I'm going to put I'm going to do it like this so you can see it a little bit better. So let's have our delete button. And this is inside the p tag there. I'm trying to make it easy for you guys to read. There we go. So in here is where I'm going to add my icon. And what we can do, I'm going to give this class name of icon. And then instead of this delete, we can just take this function here, our on click. And we're just going to copy that and put it there. Now we can just delete this button altogether. And it should work the same. There we go, perfect. Now let's go on to our index.css here. Save this. Format that so it's a bit easier to read. It looks nice. Now for our styling, let's go and style our row here. So app, we'll say task row, and we want to have a border of, we'll say 2 pixels, solid. Kind of match our input there. Padding 10 pixels, font size 18 pixels, line height 30 pixels, margin 8 pixels, 0. Let's see my task. There we go. I just like to be able to see it. So width 100%. What's going on there? We'll come back and have a look at that. We'll say border radius 8 pixels. And this display is flex. Line items to the center. And come on now. Let's justify content, space between. There we go. Perfect. Now, hey, where's our border? That's what happened. I'm going to put this on our input as well, by the way. Didn't. There we go. Now, what's going on? Oh, too small. There we go. All right, so next we want to do our icon here, and we'll just say app task row icon, and let's do a font size of 25 pixels, and I'm just going to grab our color up here, copy that, put it down here. Cool. Style this p tags in here. And for that, I'm just going to text transform, capitalize. Perfect. That's what we want right there. Now, we have our delete. Cool. Now, nothing's happening when we're clicking it. It is changing from true to false, since we already checked that earlier. But we want to change up some CSS on there to basically change this back down to like a gray and put a line through it. So what we're going to say here is, I'll just do it at the bottom here. We'll say completed background color I don't know what a good color is. We'll see. Well, I'll say D6 or something. We'll do E, so I like light gray. So, and then also we want to do text is it transform? Decoration. Line through. There we go. So now we need to go back into our app.js and find our where we have our class here. And I'm just going to move this here. I'm going to move this to beginning so it's a little bit easier for you guys to read. I'm going to put it in front of our key, actually. Whoops. Okay. And so what we want, instead of this here, I'm going to actually delete all this. And I'm going to open up some curly brackets so we can have some JavaScript in here. And what we're going to say is we're going to put in some backticks here. And that's going to allow us to grab some values. So what we want it to have is task row. We want it to have that class no matter what. Sorry. And then, and here our value is going to be task completed. We're going to use a ternary operator here. So if completed, what we want to have is completed else not completed. So let's make sure this works. Hey, there we go. So just to explain this, what we're saying here with the backticks, we did the backtick so we can add in our value here. So we have the task row no matter what, and then in here, because we always want the task row CSS styling applied to these. Now we only want to apply this completed, which is the gray background and the line through the text. We only want to apply that if the task.completed here, if this is completed is equal to true. So the way we do that with our ternary operator is say task completed. So what this is asking for, it's always the first one's going to be if task completed, if it's true, we're going to give it the completed class name. Else we're not going to give it any class name, which it's just going to default to just the task row. So that's how we're checking to see if it is completed or not. What we can also do here, we want to add our task here at the bottom. So we can use another ternary operator for that. Make sure we're in the right spot here, tasks. There we go. So what we can say here is, we can say if, we'll say, if, we'll open it up and say if tasks is less than 1, we're going to say, you have no tasks. Else, we want to say, we're going to say tasks Length, is that there? There we go. Let's have a look. Perfect. There we go. And you have no tasks. That's what we want right there. I'm going to give this class name length. Let me give it a little bit of margin there. What would you say, length or task length? There we go. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to make sure everything works here. Mow the lawn, take out the trash, say go to gym. There we go. So we have our app here. That's it. We have completed it. So basically we have our date here being printed out by JavaScript. We have an input here. We're taking the value of the input and we're adding it to our state and then mapping through all of our state. We've added the ID, the task text here, then also the Boolean value, whether or not the task is completed. We can toggle that. We can delete the item. And then we have a task count here at the bottom. Now, as you can see, whenever we reload the page, our state is wiped out, and that isn't that's not ideal when you have a to-do list. So, and that's because there's no server, there's no backend here. So on the next video, I'm going to show you how we can connect this to a database. We could use something like Firebase or something like that. So hope you liked it, you guys. If you did, please like the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be putting out some more content just like this in React. And stay tuned for the next Firebase video where we can add all this info to Firebase instead of the local state. So hope you liked it, you guys. We'll see you on the next one.